Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're going to be starting off with SCP-107, the Turtle Shell, then SCP-108, the Extra-Dimensional Naval Cavity, and then SCP-109, the Infinite Canteen. Without further ado, let us begin. Item Number: SCP-107 Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-107 poses no immediate threat as long as it does not come in contact with any liquid. As such, it is stored at Site-19 in a 5-meter square containment cell on a 1-meter high pedestal inside a clear Perspex container. Experimentation with SCP-107 is to be carried out at Research Area 06, a 484 kilometer square, 22 by 22 kilometer area of desolate land in the
Data redacted.
Dedicated to this purpose. Anyone who attempts to activate SCP-107 outside of approved experimentation must be eliminated with any force necessary. Access to and removal of the object requires the authorization of 2 Level 4 personnel and the approval of said personnel of a full experimental procedure. Should SCP-107 become active while within Site-19, 2 Class D personnel are to remove it from the site via one of the item transport trucks in Loading Bay 2. This procedure must be followed regardless of the substance that activated SCP-107, given the unpredictable nature of the item's effect on plant matter. SCP-107 should only be returned once precipitation has ceased completely and any abnormal plant growth has been neutralized or contained for further study. Description: SCP-107 resembles the top section of a hollow turtle shell. The shell is composed of a hardened biological material of unknown origin. Despite its appearance, whether this material is derived from the shell of a standard sea turtle, superfamily Cheloniidae, is as yet unknown. The item is completely inert until the inside of the turtle shell comes in contact with the liquid. When it does so, said liquid appears to be absorbed very quickly. Where the liquid drains to is unknown given the lack of visible pores on the inside of the shell. Once active, the red edge of the shell grows dimly, and the substance placed into the shell begins to precipitate in the atmosphere and fall as rain in an area of at least 0.5 meters, but less than 10 kilometers from the object. This phenomena is mobile. Moving SCP-107 will move the area of effect along with the exclusion zone. The duration and intensity appears proportional to the amount of liquid placed in the shell. 10 milliliters of water resulted in just under a half hour of a light drizzle, whereas filling it to around the 3/4 mark set off 2 days of torrential rain. Precipitation generated by SCP-107 has varying effects on plant matter, although these effects are only seen in plants grown within the effect zone. Watering other plants with collected liquid causes no abnormal reaction. See Experiment Log, Addendum 107-2. Addendum 107-1. SCP-107 was discovered by an archaeologist, Professor
Data redacted.
in what is now Ethiopia, buried alongside what appeared to be a tribal shaman. Carbon dating performed on the shaman's bones gave an age of around 18,000 BCE. SCP-107 proved resistant to all attempts to obtain a sample, and therefore no concrete origin date can be determined. The Foundation became involved after intercepting reports of strange weather events at the dig accompanied by unusual plant growth. Addendum 107-2. Below is a log of all tests carried out with SCP-107. The following is crossed out. Agents with ideas for a sensible future testing protocol should contact me. The following is no longer crossed out. Feel free to test responsibly safe liquids with SCP-107, and log your findings here. Please note that you will be responsible for anything that results from the test. We need all the data we can get on this oddity. More tests with liquid-based SCPs may have research value, but most are simply too dangerous to carry out. at least with current containment procedures. Tests involving SCP-107 and SCP-009, SCP-447-2, and SCP-874 have been proposed, but were rejected on the grounds that results have the potential to be dangerous and/or highly unstable. Dr. Quinton I.
Data redacted.
Input: 10 milliliters standard tap water. Result: light rain fell over the test site for 27 minutes. Tests on the water showed it had no unusual properties. For at least 2 weeks after the test, grass at the test site was seen to grow at a much increased rate, and the resulting plants were a richer green in color than those unaffected by the rain. Further procedure: a sample of the rain was collected and used to water various other plants outside of the test site. Result: no effects observed. Input: 55 milliliters standard tap water. Result: torrential rain over test site for 2 days, and an effect on the grass similar to the first test. Fruit-bearing plant grown in the soil at the test site grew very quickly and bore much larger fruit than control plants. Effect had diminished considerably after 3 months. Input: 4 centimeter cubed block of wood. Result: no effect observed. Input: 20 steel ball bearings of radius 2 millimeters. Result: no effect observed. Input: 10 milliliter human urine. Result: urine rained on the test site for 27 minutes with moderate intensity. Grass at the test site began to die. Any other plant species moved to the test site began to grow stunted, passive pitcher insect traps incapable of actually ingesting insect matter. Subsequent input: 20 milliliters of human urine. Result: urine rained on the test site for 3 hours, 42 minutes, with slightly greater intensity. No grass plants grew larger, stronger pitcher traps capable of digesting small rodents. Input: 10 milliliters of human blood, extracted from a Class D test subject. Result: a substance proven after to be human blood with the same genetic makeup as the donating subject fell on the site for 27 minutes. Grass at the test site appeared to die on contact with the blood and began rotting within minutes. Any non-grass plants planted in the resulting soil began to mutate and grow large, greater than 20 centimeters across, carnivorous organs similar to those of the Venus flytrap, Dionaea muscipula. When approached by Class D personnel, the plants were seen to
Data redacted.
These organisms began to grow back after 2 weeks. Further testing with bodily fluids considered unwise. Input: 10 milliliters of water with 5 grams of steel ball bearings. Result: water was absorbed by SCP-107 and the standard reaction was observed in plant matter. Ball bearings remained in the shell, evidently having no impact on the test. Input: 10 milliliters of liquid cyanioacrylate adhesive. Result: all liquid was absorbed by SCP-107 and partially cured cyanioacrylate fell on the test site for 18 minutes. It is likely that the reduced duration of effect was due to curing of the adhesive whilst inside SCP-107. Plant matter grew sticky coating later identified as cyanioacrylate derivative. Coating was very effective at trapping insects and preventing them from damaging plants. Input: 10 milliliters of fresh orange juice. Result: standard precipitation pattern, 27 minutes of drizzle. Fruit-bearing plants moved to the testing site began to grow an unknown citrus fruit, irrespective of plant species and despite the cold conditions. No ill effects observed from consumption of the fruit. Samples have been taken for further testing. Input: 2 milliliters of human saliva provided by a Class D test subject. Result: substance later proven to be human saliva fell on the test site for 8 minutes. Non-grass plants moved to the test site grew small, 2 to 5 centimeter, spherical sacs along the stems or thin branches. When the plant was approached by the test subject, the sacs violently expelled a saliva-like liquid towards the subject. Subject reported no illness or injury. Augmented plants began to die within 3 days. Input: 10 milliliters of 99.999% isotopically pure heavy water, D2O. Result: standard precipitation pattern, 27 minutes of drizzle. Mass spectrometry of samples revealed a deuterium abundance of around 154 parts per million, which is standard for natural water. Input: 5 milliliters of elemental mercury. Result: sample began to be absorbed, but was then re-exuded. End of SCP. Item number: SCP-108, Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-108 is contained entirely by Subject 108-1. Subject 108-1 should be contained in a standard containment cell measuring 3 meter by 3 meter, furnished with whatever items are requested unless said items compromise security. Subject 108-1 is permitted to leave the room, wander freely, and eat in the main canteen. Medical examination to be performed on Subject 108-1 daily. Filters to be changed as necessary. Description: SCP-108 is accessible through the nostrils of Subject 108-1. Subject is a African-American female, 51 years old, see Addendum 108-1, who was previously employed as a cashier at
Data redacted.
a small town hardware store in
Data redacted.
Kentucky since
Data redacted.
SCP-108 has been housed at Site-17. Endoscopic examination of SCP-108 reveals that the area accessible via the subject's nostril is not the human nasal cavity, but rather a bunker system of Nazi German construction dedicated to the production and maintenance of World War II-era Messerschmitt Me-262 fighters. Exploration via robotic endoscope reveals the bunker system has internal dimensions of approximately 2 kilometers by 4 kilometers, with the long axis parallel to the main entrance/exit portal. While the exploration is by no means complete, SCP-108 is believed to contain hundreds of airframes under construction on its assembly line, as well as 3 completed aircraft. There is also a large quantity of human remains in the complex, particularly concentrated around the entry or exit portal, with the corpses of Nazi officials, military personnel, Hitler Youth, and civilians, possibly Ukrainian slave workers, in an advanced state of decay. Evidence of a firefight near the entry/exit portal supports the hypothesis that the German military personnel were swarmed by the civilians and were killed in the ensuing struggle. Some corpses show signs of cannibalism. Robotic endoscope exploration continues, and high-discharge LED lighting assembled piecemeal using the ship-in-a-bottle technique has been deployed. Endoscopic examination of the interior of SCP-108 reveals a large hangar door area with a kind of double airlock with blast doors large enough to admit 2 fully assembled fighters. A production line exists which would allow damaged fighters and deliveries to enter on one side of the hangar door and finished fighters to exit on the other. Turning the endoscope head 180 degrees reveals the open doorway as an area of total blackness with 2 nostril-shaped penetrations in it. One nostril-shaped penetration is connected to whichever nostril is admitting the endoscope, and the other is connected to the interior of a human nasal cavity. DNA testing reveals the nasal cavity belongs to the subject. The black area is impenetrable and absorbs all wavelengths of light that the endoscope can carry. The black area is elastic and yielding when probed. Apparently, the portal system is a unique 3-way arrangement. If the outside world is designated A, the interior of the ME-262 factory is B, and the subject's nasal cavity is C, then traffic is as follows. Anything, including gases and light, going from A, end up in B. Items going from B end up in C. Items going from C end up in A. Presumably, in 1944, it was intended that C and A were the interior and exterior of a double hangar at Tempelhof, based on the architecture of the hangar doors. Addendum 108-1. Subject claims that she was training to perform the human blockhead magic trick in preparation for being a clown at a children's birthday party. After hammering a 4 centimeter long galvanized iron nail into her nasal cavity, she lost her grip in the end and dropped it inside her nose. Immediately, she noticed a god-awful musty stench and experienced nausea and disorientation. Blowing her nose had no discernible effect and left no residue on tissues. She was able to breathe normally through her nose. After about 3 days, subject got used to the hell's asshole smell and performed at the children's birthday party to the delight of her nephew. Approximately a week later, after ignoring numerous complaints about the smell of her breath, subject was diagnosed with pneumonia and placed on a course of roxythyroxycin. Pneumonia responded to antibiotics, but reoccurred a week later. Her general practitioner also noted that nasal examinations with a otoscope showed simply blackness rather than the inside of a nose. After admission to hospital with chronic pneumonia, examination with a 1-meter fiber optic endoscope allowed the endoscope to be threaded in almost a full meter. The attending ENT noted that he appeared to be seeing a Nazi eagle badge through the endoscope. Specialist examination notes were kept in a digital patient management system and intercepted by the Foundation in a routine
Data redacted.
sweep. The subject was recovered without incident by Task Force Epsilon 9 disguised as high-risk warrant team officers in a pre-dawn raid in June of 19.
Data redacted.
By the end of the cleanup operations, the GP, ENT, 11 hospital personnel, and 2 civilians were terminated. The subject was examined by Foundation staff and provided her with air filtration units, which could be passed through her nostrils piecemeal and assembled like a ship in a bottle. The filtration filling must be removed on a regular basis when it gets expended, roughly once a week, as the subject is essentially inhaling the atmosphere of a formerly sealed Nazi mass war grave. Although initially hostile to the Foundation, the subject has responded well to enhanced psychological conditioning protocols and now accepts her situation. A plan has been proposed in line with the backing up of all critical Foundation data at Site-62 in SCP-108. Data could be written onto micro SD cards or similar compact non-volatile media and inserted into the subject's nostrils, provided some way to house the subject in a safe location is assured in the event of an XK class scenario. Researcher continues to find a way to remove the entrance of the dimensional portal from the subject's nostril to another location and to discover the physical location of the bunker to determine if alternative access is possible. The original galvanized nail has yet to be found. End of SCP. Item number: SCP-109, Object Class Euclid. See Addendum 109-1. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-109 is currently located in Non-Critical Storage Unit 7 and requires no active monitoring. It should not be removed from the unit except to be transported to a research facility, and then only by personnel with Level 3 security clearance or higher. When replacing SCP-109, personnel should ensure that it is firmly closed and that it is placed on the molded pedestal in the upright position. Description: SCP-109 is a standard-issue United States Army canteen, circa 1899, made of tin alloy and fitted with a heavy cotton cover and a black leather strap. When opened, the item is seen to be full of water. A seemingly unlimited amount of water can be removed from the container without changing the water level or the item's mass, which remains a constant 3.16 kilograms. Probes of the interior of the container reported an estimated volume of 2.8 liters and a shape consistent with the outside. The water in SCP-109 is of a slight blue-gray tint with concentrations of 20 parts per million of tin, 170 parts per million of other electrolytes. The water remains at a constant temperature of 19 degrees Celsius, but can be heated or cooled when moved to another container. Addendum 109-1. Upon the item's delivery to Site-19, it was given the object class of Safe. As tests were conducted on the item, uncertainty surrounding the test results prompted Gen
Data redacted.
to upgrade the object class to Euclid. Addendum 109-2. Recently, a request was filed and granted by Dr.
Data redacted.
for permission to water an okra plant growing in his office with SCP-109. Staff should be notified that Dr.
Data redacted.
uses SCP-109 for this purpose for a small time every Friday. Addendum 109-3. It has come to my attention that new Class D personnel are often dared to empty the bottle. Guards are reminded that they are to discourage such activity and inform that SCP-109 is bottomless. Chanting chug repeatedly is considered unprofessional. Dr. Klein. Additional information. Due to the range of tests conducted on SCP-109, this section has been provided to present test results in chronological order. Dates have been withheld for confidentiality. Test 1. Subjects imbibed water from SCP-109 reported that it was very refreshing and, despite the metal content, very tasty. Urine samples from the subjects were normal. Test 2. Follow-up to Test 1. Had subjects dehydrate themselves for 1 full day before imbibing from SCP-109. Test remains unfinished as subjects were unable to provide urine samples. Test 3. Subject bathed in water from SCP-109. Subject reported increased energy and a much improved complexion following the bath. Test 4. Streptococcus bacteria cultured in water from SCP-109 thrived and multiplied quickly. Water from SCP-109 administered to subject suffering from streptococcal infection killed nearly all bacteria and produced a full recovery within 24 hours. Test 5. Blood substitute created using water from SCP-109 given in transfusion to pedestrian hit by a drunk driver. Subject showed no malign symptoms from the transfusion and made a full recovery. Subject's physical therapy concluded 6 weeks early. Test 6. Water from SCP-109 administered to various plant organisms, all of which remained very healthy and showed no malign symptoms. One proposition for a test which has been discussed for some time has been involving a combination of SCP-109 and SCP-402. Due to the risk of losing one or both items or creating a hazardous situation, this test has never been conducted. Alright, that's going to be it for today. Thank you everyone for coming. It's been an absolute joy being able to read for you all. And I hope that you guys have a nice day out there or night, whichever it happens to be. So long, and thank you for coming.